well, Aaron Rodgers, somebody could get sick and die. That lady burned up screaming.
Yep.
Do you think that's the first time that guy drove like that or showed that behavior? I mean, really, do you think that?
Exactly.
No. Start paying attention.
Right.
Pay attention, and maybe one day you'll see the real world. Hello, everybody. It's Two Average Joes, starring Two Average Joes. Starring is a operative word here. I'm not sure, exactly if I should have said it that, but close enough. How are you doing, Mr. Baker?
I'm doing great. It's beautiful here in Southwest Michigan. How's it in Mississippi?
It is beautiful. Every day is beautiful in Mississippi. It's gorgeous out here, and I'm just having a nice chill day. It's been a crazy week for information. Yes. Early in the week, though, I want to start off with, you sent me an article about somebody who wants to now get rid of classic rock. No more classic rock.
Yeah. Specifically, it was American Pie by Don McLean.
Yes. Apparently, he's not a good person.
Evidently.
Yeah. If we got rid of all the people who weren't good people, that your radio, look, if you got rid of all the people who weren't good people, your radio would be silent.
Yeah.
Your iPod would be silent. It's interesting that there's always a moral power play, I think. Because here's what happens if I want to get rid of somebody. We're just going to put on Artist A. Once you said something horrible. Yeah. I'm sorry you did that. Now turn it up to 10 because I'm tired of hearing about it.
Right.
I do think that there's also, and we talked about this because it's American Pie. There'll be a link down there so you can believe it. We didn't make this crap up. Somebody actually said it. He's a
New York Times article.
He's a bad person. He's a bad person. Apparently has some domestic problems.
Evidently.
Okay, let me tell you something. If we got rid of everybody with domestic problems, the place would be empty.
Yeah.
Okay. I could just imagine, and I'm not picking on sports, but if you got rid of all the sports people that were not good people every moment of their life, probably nobody playing. Okay.
Probably the stands would be empty too.
The stands are empty. I think there's a part of me. That's what I love about the woke thing. It's like, I love woke people because they're always like, he did this, he did that. I said, no, you're looking for the perfect person. His name is Jesus.
Yeah.
But I'm sure if I said that, they would lose their ever-loving mind. I said, his name's Jesus. Find him. Okay? Because apparently you're on a quest for him because you're not going to find it here. Right. And it's easy to pick people apart. I think Richard Sherman, was having a bad domestic time, and he showed up at his wife's house. No, not his wife's house, his wife's father's house, I believe. And they arrest him, and it's the worst time of his life, and it happens a lot. And you have to be careful of it. I want to treat it seriously, but it happens a lot. It just, because it was Richard Sherman, it's on ESPN, it's on all the news. Right. If his name's Fred McGurkle, you don't know about. Okay? Right. You don't know.
How many domestic violences you've been on in your career?
That was like number one call. That was
yeah.
And one of the things that you find with domestics are they are not people at their best. I'm not defending their behaviors because we've arrested many of
them. Yeah. Okay? I defend a lot of them.
Yeah. So, I've arrested them. You've defended them. You've seen people, that you thought, we got to get people help. So we're not sitting there and being, pie in the sky. But the reality is if you've ever been to domestic, you are not seeing people at their best.
Yeah, the article, it's an opinion piece in the New York Times. It says that they want to topple classic rock just like they're toppling the Confederate statues.
Don't mess with Freebird. Not screw with Freebird.
They're coming for Freebird. I bet.
You're coming for Freebird, then Merle Haggard would say you're getting on the fighting side of me. Okay,
there we go.
I'll be messing with Freebird. But we have a situation here in Columbus where one of our councilmen was arrested for apparently being a domestic and firing a gun in the air.
Do they frown upon that in Mississippi?
Yes, they do. That is, they have to deal with it. That's the reality. But people are like, look, there's got to be a punishment there, right?
Yeah.
But understand there's some other underlying things going there. I'm glad nobody was hurt, right?
Usually is. When there's gunfire, there's usually something underlying.
Yeah, there's not something good, but there's a lot of undercurrent there, and it's got to be investigated and it's got to be done. And yet, here's the weird part. Depending on who you are, you'll have people like, he should be ran out of town on a rail. No, let's see the whole thing. There's got to be some, there's some troubling things here. And it's got to be dealt with, right?
Right.
And then there's the other group of people. Well, stuff happens. No, stuff don't happen. Believe
not
it or
gunfire wise.
When it comes to gunfire, no. As a general rule, it doesn't happen. Okay.
Right.
So that's the really weird thing of watching it. And I don't know enough about this guy's case that I want to get into it other than what I read in the paper, which means I probably don't know any more than the people who didn't read in the paper. Right. But there's a lot of truth. It seems like, there's the go kill him, horrible thing happened, cancel him out. His wife said he's a bad person. And then there's the other, which I don't agree with, by the way. And then there's another group of people who are constantly dealing with, what's a little gunplay between spouses? There's something wrong with that, dude. We're trying to balance it out. And I think that's what's happened in our media about picking sides. And we talk about that all the time. It's like there's somewhere in the middle, we got to deal with this. Okay.
Yeah.
In this situation here, it just happened a couple of days ago. It's got to be dealt with. If it is handled, which means it goes through the courts and all the things are done, then the voters have to decide on whether or not this guy's going to be, elected again. If he gets swept under the rug, then bad things are, that means that's bad things, right? So you just kind of sit there and try to run it out. And again, I'm not going either way because I'm not really studied it or seen it and stuff, but I just know from the law enforcement side of it, you are always, that is a hyphen situation. And if this was like the old Dr. Ruth show, wasn't that her name?
Yeah.
Dr. Ruth. There will be no link in the back. Don't look for it.
Yeah.
There's relationships do not bring the best out of people. And by the time you and me see them, they are definitely not.
You mix in a little substance abuse and alcohol and drugs, and it gets a little bit crazy.
It gets a little crazy, yeah. But it's interesting to make these definitive statements, going back on the classic rock thing, to make these definitive statements. Like, we're going to topple them like the Confederate statues. Why don't we just all calm down? But you see, that's bullying behavior. See, what they do is they push. They say, how far can I get? And that's when people got to go, this is probably time we grab a big old cup of shut the fuck up.
Yeah. What I don't understand is, one, was he ever convicted of anything?
No, they don't go into any detail.
Right. Well, true. Two, what was and I know you've been out on domestic violences because some of these people know that they can use this as a tool to remove the other party from the house.
No, don't say that ever happened.
Right. I've defended that. I've had it where a husband or a wife threw milk on a guy, and that was called. And then I had another one where they pushed a refrigerator door into another person. That was enough. I've had every type of domestic violence case come through my office to the heinous stuff, that clearly needed to be prosecuted. And it's a symptom of several things typically. And one is usually, like I said, substance abuse, but there's mental health issues. There's all kinds of things that's a symptom of. And unfortunately, the cops who they're trying to defund in different parts of the country, evidently, have to go out and umpire these things. And I don't know how, God bless them for having the fortitude to do that.
And I'm going to go on sacred ground because I'm not in the profession anymore. And you also have to assume that either one of them are telling you the truth.
Neither one of you. I
said either one, but I actually.
I usually say in the middle lies the truth, somewhere in the middle.
Listen, let me tell you something. I think one of the most bombastic things about being a police officer is the perception that there's truth, that you're on this quest for truth, which is true. Because nobody's giving it to you, right? I was a young officer. One of the first reports I was taking was, it was basically a robbery. Okay, well, you just knocked somebody down, took their money. It's a robbery. Okay, I'm thinking, okay, let's do this. I mean, I had a feeling. I mean, I wasn't experienced. I was brand new, but I mean, just from his talking, he probably knew the guy, right? I go, okay, let's get this report done. What's your name? My name's Billy Bob Ray Bob. Where do you live? Oh, it went downhill after that.
Yeah.
It took me 10 minutes to get an address.
Right.
And it wasn't his address.
Right.
Okay. And it went from that being bad. By the time I was done taking my report, me and my FTO was like, well, that won't be solved because there was nothing in that report that was true.
Right.
Maybe the name. Right.
Maybe.
And that happens a lot, because I think there is a perpetual belief that there's lying going on, but it's by the criminals. Not a lot of understanding that you're not getting a lot of good information from the victim.
Right.
And I mean, it kills a lot of cases. I mean, because, I'm new when that is happening. And before I left, it would have been like, hey, that's a robbery. Glad it didn't get worse, because we all know that can go horribly wrong. Right. And you would think, okay, this person's going to be upfront with us, but we couldn't get the address. And that happened all the time.
Yeah, I mean, the domestics, they usually send out 2 cops. They split the people up if they can, right? And they try to, they get the story, and then they try to compare notes, I guess, and determine. Yeah. Usually, if somebody's got a mark, the other person's going to jail. That's
probably the tall tale sign.
That's
here's the problem with the mark, that because you got it, that is a basic that is the basis, for the arrest. But there's still an investigation, and they're still going to court. So you arrest person A because they left a mark on person B.
Yeah. And
the story that you kind of sort of heard while you were on the scene, and when you get to court, they're not the same story. I'm going to leave it at that.
No, a lot of the ones that I have, sometimes the husband will not hit the wife, so the husband has the mark.
Right. Yeah.
Sometimes, and the wife.
No, I mean that happened. But regardless, it doesn't. When you get to court, there's a whole other story.
Yeah.
So if I figure out multiple stories. So we go back to the classic rock. This person writes this definitive article, and it's like, dude, that ain't how it works in the real world.
No.
But what? See, here's the difference. You and I got the advantage of what? All our experience.
Yeah, true.
When I first started reading them, thinking, oh, well, there you go. Once again, somebody don't know nothing about nothing who's getting to write an article, right?
Yeah.
But they're not. But don't come after Freebird. Do I like American?
Yeah.
So there we go. But I think the whole woke thing took a bit of a hit Tuesday in our home Commonwealth.
It did. Virginia.
Yeah.
You know what our I love their flag, because it's thus always to tyrants is what they're in Latin, right? And
right.
Killing a tyrant. Not that. Hopefully, I don't end up on an NSA watch list somewhere.
Not that we're condoning just what's on our state flag.
That's on the Virginia state flag, but yes. So,
and it's a woman with a bear, one of her breasts bare.
Oh God, yes.
So that even made it more interesting when you're a kid. You're like, what? That's our state flag.
It is.
I'm not going to put a flag on her.
Right.
But if I did, I'd get the right one, because every now and then they will remove the nipple.
Oh, really?
Yeah. I'm like, what is that, dude? You do the flag.
Right. Do the flag, right.
I mean, look, there isn't a lot of flags left with any pizzazz, but death to tyrants and the nipple is pretty much on there. That's pretty much in the extreme.
Right. So a typically Democratic state, because I believe of the Washington corridor, shifted to Republican on Tuesday. And also it was a squeaker out in New Jersey, evidently.
Yeah, here's the weird thing about Virginia, because in the last 12 years it had gone blue, and it was because of the DC corridor.
Yeah.
And McAuliffe is an idiot who goes, I don't think parents have anything to do with what teachers are teaching. That's a quick way to lose. But here's the great thing, is I'm watching the liberal news network, whatever it's called, right?
Right.
It's a white supremacy. I'm like, dude, he won the Hispanic vote.
And who's the lieutenant governor? That guy.
Yeah, the lieutenant governor is a black female who joined the Marines, which wasn't even an American citizen because she loves this country. And
right. Yeah, that white supremacy thing doesn't really fly.
That's what you already get. I'm like, it's one of the things we talk about. It's like, this show, where we work to get numbers. We're working to try to get people doing it. I mean, we're brand new, so we're clawing and trying to do everything we can to get ahead. Mm-hmm. And I just want us to stick around because I just believe beyond a shadow of a doubt, they have incredibly shrinking numbers. And I don't want to get lost in that because it's boring, but I'll sum it up this way. Nobody's watching them.
Right.
Okay. If you and me had the money and the output they had, we'd have a zillion viewers. Okay. Sure. But their laziness and their agenda-driven slop is killing it. It's weird because I know of a couple of people that are like, there's no such thing as critical race theory. And, it's a fake culture war. And then I'm going, you know what, Dad? That's weird because you got your ass kicked.
Yeah, I think I told you on NPR, James Carville was on, who I really respect him. I mean, he helped get Clinton elected way back in the day.
Yes.
And he's a pretty.
He also said if you ran a $100 bill down a trailer park, he goes, you couldn't keep people from jumping on it.
Well, you gotta love him for that, right? But he said that the reason why Virginia went to the Republicans and then New Jersey was so close, and he said he listed about 4 or 5 other ones, Seattle and Buffalo.
Yeah.
And there were a couple other ones. He says it's the crazy wokeness that the left wing is pushing as far as defund the police and then take Abraham Lincoln's name off of schools. He listed about 3 or 4 things.
Yeah.
But he was like, the Democrats need a detox, is what he said. And the link will be below when we.
Yeah, there will be a link below for that one because that deserves it. But I gotta say this because it's so true. I probably have even said it this episode. If I haven't, I know I have another. The great minority of thought. I'm not talking about people and all this other stuff. The minority of thought get the loudest voice, and I don't understand that. I don't think you could find anybody go, you know what we want to do? We want to defund the police. Let's not have it. Let's let them, as they were trying to pull off in Minneapolis, let the mayor be in charge of the public safety unit. No one wants that. No one wants that. It gets thrashed all the time.
Yeah.
It was that old Saturday Night Live skit that you showed me one time. It's probably about maybe even before we started doing the show where they had the black and the white guy talking, right? And the white guy was talking about, guns control. And he goes, I hope not. He goes, I'm buying guns because crazy white people are talking about the funding of police.
That's exactly right.
Because that's what it is. It's crazy white people talking about the funding of police, okay?
Right.
Because you'd have to be a psycho to think that you're going to defund the police. I mean, we need the police. Now, you can work on training, getting more professional people. You can do, tons of things that I would agree with. The funding them is not one. As a matter of fact, because of your ignorance of scaring people away from the profession, because of your ignorance of vilifying the profession, you will pay us better than we've ever been paid in the entire history of America. So through your ignorance, your mild psychosis, we appreciate that because my profession will never be paid better than they are right now. We thank you very much for your insanity. They're paying police officers more than ever.
Yeah.
You can be a starting police officer in a regular place and just make $50,000.
Yeah, and you had said there's going to be more and more privatization of the police departments.
That's happening. Yeah,
we were talking about it pre-show about Detroit, that the guy who owns QuickBooks or whatever.
It's probably the part that worries me. Yeah. Where you go, I'll be honest with you. You're going to have that. Now, I'm not for that because it means that, rich people are going to have better police than poor.
Right. We went down that road with privatized jails and prisons, and it hasn't really worked out.
So I'm not necessarily thrilled about it. I'm just saying it's happened.
Right.
One thing that people forget, just because I mention it, it's coming.
Right.
Privatized police departments in nice areas where they can afford it. Doesn't mean that I particularly like it.
Right.
No, I'm old school. I like the cities to run the thing. But I think it's going to be crazy. But I think that whole thing with there leads into some more of the Biden stuff. I do think it was a mandate that his stuff is not appreciated. I know that they managed to run some bill through, at least the House, late Friday, and 18 Republicans.
Was it that many?
Yeah. This is where, see, this is why I don't get into politics about parties much as some people would think we would.
Yeah.
Everybody who's ever watched the show knows what I think of Mitch McConnell. So, but once again, Republicans never fail to disappoint.
They do that, and I don't think that they know which way the wind is blowing, because when the elections come rolling, I don't know when they're up for re-election. There's going to be a bloodletting, I suspect.
I think 18 people may leave in the
I believe they may in the primaries.
They're going to leave in the primaries. I think that Republicans have always been less unified than Democrats. I don't know, any other way to put it, but I'll just say this: they never fail to disappoint.
Well, wasn't progressive Democrats what was blocking the whole thing before
the so-called squad, their 5 or 6 people didn't vote for it. It would have failed. But here to the rescue comes
the Republican Party.
Yeah. The Republican Party will save the day.
Right. Still got to get through the Senate, though, right?
Yeah. We'll see how that goes. It is not the mega bill, but it's still too much. Yeah,
1.75 trillion, I think, right?
Yeah.
Give trillion here, a trillion there, it all adds up. They used to say that about billions. I
remember when we were in the billions, people were scratching their heads at trillion. Here's this is a paid political announcement from reality. There's no money. We just print up numbers. There's no money.
Yeah.
We're making this all up.
Yeah.
Okay. So if you're watching this and you go, but that's a lot of money. Actually, it's not, because there is no money. It's just some numbers they made. They're going to keep making them up until, I don't know, the bills come due.
Well, they're coming due right now with the hyperinflation, or call it inflation right now.
So think of it like this. You have this credit card that has no balance. You can just spin. So you spend trillions of dollars. And then one day people go, we need to collect some of that money. And you don't have any money, because we don't have any money, because there is no money. It's all paper, and now it's just all electronics. Yep. If there is ever a conspiracy that I like, that I love, it's this one. And a part of it is why I love it is because I know it's true, and it's brutally true. But it's hard to explain. But you'll understand it when the economy collapses. Okay?
Well, all you got to do is go try to fill your gas tank up. I don't know what it's costing you down in Mississippi, but I used to fill up for about $30. It's about $75 now.
Yeah, it's $3 a gallon now. Thank you, Joe Biden. But I got an important announcement. There is no such thing as money. Right. It's based on speculation.
Right.
And I'm being kind. We say we're printing money. We're just putting numbers in a computer. And here's here is my gloom moment of the world. Right now, we can do that because we are the world's. There's only one currency. Okay, when the number of the beast comes, there'll be just one currency. Well, it's here. That's your speculation. Right. By the way, when it comes to science and other things, there's only one language. English. Okay, so here's what's going to happen. If our economy collapses and the Chinese takes over the economy, I didn't say our country, okay, that their money becomes the standard. They become the one currency. They're going to collect on our debt, to which we're going to have to tell our enemy, we ain't got any money, because it was all made up. Right? And that's not a conspiracy, by the way. That's why I love it. It's fact.
We're in a troubling time. We're in troubling time on many levels. Troubling time, because the stock market is on fire. It is booming every day. New new highs for no particular reason either.
No, because it's making up numbers. I got $87 trillion. That's why I'm pretty sure I know you love Elon Musk. I love Musk. And I mean, there's other, trust me, they got money in other things.
Mm-hmm.
Trust me, their money is not wrapped into computer numbers.
Right.
Yeah. And it's, my favorite one has always been, and I learned this a long time ago, is that, there's no way our currency can pay. And I just don't agree with that anymore.
Whenever they say no way, never, Titanic comes to mind. Many things come to mind when they say
none of it is good.
None of it is good at all.
None of it's good. So yeah, we're going to see. I mean, I think if there's anything, if I was a complete cynic, and I am, and if I said, why are we arguing about stuff? Why have we reinvented some of these? I hate to say them. There's just these reinvented some of the things that keep us separated and try, instead of trying to unify us in spite of our not always illustrious history. How do we come together and fight it? Why would you want us to be still fighting?
Right.
I think it's because they don't want people to go, $1 trillion. Is that like in cash? Can I see that like in a suitcase?
Yeah.
Because there's actually dollars printed, and what's backing those dollars? That's what they don't want, because it's a game changer. It's weird because I don't think, we want to soft sell current problems. They're real. Wokeness is real.
Yeah.
Silly stuff is real. Trying to separate us is real. I mean, all of that stuff is real. So I don't want to downplay it, but sometimes I think, are we focusing on this because we don't want to ask big questions like, how are we going to pay for all of this?
Mm-hmm.
What do we do with a shrinking economy and a shrinking job market when people have to work? It's weird because, go back to Elon Musk, he talks about on a couple of occasions on things we watch about, we're going to have to come up with some way to pay people or something to do for people to do.
Yeah.
Because we're moving towards robots and moving
self-driving vehicles, self-driving.
Yeah. And, you have to deal with it. And I guess that those are the hard questions, but if we can have everybody pointing fingers, then it's better.
Yeah. That goes to the Jordan Peterson video podcast that I sent you. It's about 5 minutes long. It'll be down in the thing. It's called Winging a Prayer. And he threads through religion, and he had seen, evidently Fox News had come up with saying that, the other side is coming for us, which we've said on this in many episodes. We've said the same thing. And then he believed that the left said the same thing, and maybe MSNBC or CNN, wherever the heck they do their spewing. But he had studied, Solzhenitsyn is a big influence on him, the Gulag Archipelago, which I haven't read. Have you read that, Joe?
No, I think that's on my list.
Yeah, it's like it's a little thick, but anyway. So he has studied all these.
Let me hold you there. Russian philosophy. Don't write anything in 500 words when you can write a book that big.
That's true. That is true. Tolstoy, all of them, right? Like there's no tomorrow. But anyway. So yeah, so he thinks that we've got to stop this, or we are going to blow up, which is what we've been saying, for the last 13 episodes that we've been doing this. Is that
I think if you're just fair, I'm not asking you to be on any side. You're just fair, and especially people in the middle, people that are right there locked in the middle. You have to see how angry people are. You have to see how angry people are. You just
go to a school board meeting or a city council meeting. I mean, here in Southwest Michigan, they're packing them in. I think they turned away 1,000 here in Ottawa County, which is just contiguous county.
Yeah, I'm watching this and I'm like, and I'm hearing people, and I don't think keyboard warriors, and that's what they are, who are like, oh, these people. I'm like, dude, you're just fueling a fire that you don't understand how it's blazing. And go back to the Virginia election. Did it prove itself right? You you've got these mask mandates coming out, and you got these vaccination mandates coming out, and you got, I'm still stunned that you still got people fighting over masks, but apparently there's been, conflicts over that. But now you got these vaccination mandates, and, they've at least, as of the time we're recording this, blocked them, and you've got a bunch of states fighting them. And it's like, it's like, you're going to fire all these people? Who are you going to replace them with?
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, and they're firing like first responders, right?
Yeah. Nurses. Yeah.
I mean, what could possibly go wrong
there? Like they always say, 7, 8, 9 months ago, they're heroes. Now you're just fireable, un-American, un-American fire. And yet I'm sitting here going, we're ratcheting it up.
Big time.
And a lot of times it's people running their mouth that do not understand what's going to happen.
No.
And people are very, very angry. And I don't know in my life, outside of Vietnam, the Vietnam War, that I've seen people this upset.
I wonder if there's going to be a lost generation, like after I think it was World War I, where we had the lost generation, that because this has got to be mucking up our children that are going to school, right?
Yeah. It's here's the weird thing. I was watching a football game with Auburn and Texas A&M, and I think there's 109,000 people there. Right. All of them unmasked.
Yeah, there we go.
And they didn't have 6 feet worth of distance, right?
Probably saying, "Let's go, Brandon."
Yes. I'm sure. But your kid's going to be 6 feet away with a mask on. If you're living in that, you have to ask yourself, what world or what alternate world are we living in?
Especially if they don't have a mask standard. That was that one thing that we had on our last one about the guy who was wearing the hazmat suit. I mean, honestly, to protect yourself properly, a mask, maybe it'll cut down on what, if you're carrying it, that it knocks it, at least it sprays in a different direction than right into somebody's face. But it is not going to protect anybody. And then the vaccines, I'm hearing, I just heard this week that 3 people in this county died from COVID after having the vaccine. So
ain't much of a vaccine.
WTF, Batman? What in God's name is the vaccine for if it is not protecting people from death?
I heard somebody say this, and it was from a personal conversation, so it wasn't like something I can put a link on, but it was like, at the end of the day, it would have been better to be a COVID shot. Because a shot, implies
something other than a vaccine.
They should have never used
polio vaccine.
Yeah, they should have never used the vaccine. They should have never used the vaccine. That just because, like I said, I understand I'm semi-quoting Joe Biden, who is, a lunatic. But okay, you need to get vaccinated to make sure that people who are vaccinated don't get COVID. Like, dude, that's not a seller. I'm telling you, you're not a deal sealer. That is, what sort of vaccination is it that I need other people to get vaccinated so I don't, get COVID?
I wish I could talk more intelligently about it, but there's a study that Israel did that found that naturally catching it and surviving it is stronger of a deterrent of you catching it again or it being as severe.
Right.
And I'll try to track that down so we could put it below, but you never hear this, and that's the thing. And we're probably not getting,
I think that when your quarter profits are $34 billion from your vaccination, you probably really don't want them to talk about that.
I think we need 6-month boosters for the rest of our lives is what I think.
We need a booster because you know what? I need a new yacht because this yacht just ain't big enough. Okay?
Right.
One advantage I think you and I have from being raised in the 60s and the 70s is that I'm cynical about big business and government anyways, because we were old hippies and that's the way it was.
That is true.
So here's what's weird. If you were in the 60s, you were an old hippie like we were, you'd be going like, there's a lot of money to make. $34 billion, that's a lot of money to make. And the government, they're in bed with them. Those are all very old school liberal thoughts.
Right.
Now you got to be on the right to hear them now.
Yeah, true.
That's crazy, but it's an old school. I think sometimes when I'm going like, oh God, we're trusting corporations and government.
Mm-hmm.
Never in my life, when I was a crazy liberal, That was like number one with a bullet at what you don't do.
Right.
And now people who consider themselves liberal, they're just sucked up with it. And I just can't make any sense of it.
I don't either.
I don't have a lot of clue on what you're doing, brother. I don't have a clue on it. I will share this though, and I don't think we're exaggerating. I think that the second problem is I don't think they trust the government, or the people that I know don't trust the government.
Yeah.
I don't think media has ever been more dead. I don't. I mean, when I say good old fashioned mainstream media, I don't know they've ever been deader than they are right now. And that's one of the things I said it earlier in this episode. I'll say it again, and you'll hear it again on other episodes. It's why I want people to support us. I want people to support Two Average Joes. I want them to support independent media, because somewhere down the line, it's not like you and me do investigative reporting where we're bringing we went deep in the lab or anything. Mm-hmm. It's just that we're the other narrative to point out, like, you're a bully. Mm-hmm. You're a bully. This is why other people need to hear that. When you hear that, you go, oh, well, that's just another opinion, Joe. No, they're bullying you. Yeah. They got rid of statues. Now it's time to get rid of music and get rid of TV and get rid of Dave Chappelle. They're trying to bully you. Yeah. And until somebody goes, you know what? I don't remember asking you your opinion, but thank you. And get the hell out of my house. You're going to constantly have that. And it has to be viewed as bullying. Mm-hmm. And I know that there's this whole thing where it's a liberal thing, about, call people out and make them up to their standard. Actually, that's a good thing. Mm-hmm. Actually, I love that idea. Because here's the deal. If you're at a conference about global warming, don't bring 75 cars for your
and fly in a jet.
You know what I mean? So if you're in there and you're thinking like we do, I mean, it's not really about doing deep dive stuff. It's just think like, let's do this. Your friend is over your house and he's talking about global warming. And he's shaming you because Donald Trump didn't like global warming. Here's a hint. I'm just giving you a suggestion. Get up. Go and open your window, your curtain. He's like, come here. He says, your bike looks a lot like a car. Right. And until you start riding a bike over here, I don't want to hear it, because you're a hypocrite. Right. At best, you're a hypocrite. If your friend, that's what you want to call him, your coworker, talks to you about global warming while they drove their car, they're a hypocrite, and call them out. You're just a hypocrite. If you fly to the, I love some of these actors to watch them. They're actors, right? If you flew to the global warming conference, shut up. How do I? Was it you that told me? Huh? Was it you that told me that 3 of the biggest polluters or whatever global warming? Yeah, they didn't show up. Oh yeah, you got. You gotta love it. I don't think India showed up, but I know Saudi Arabia, who is the biggest oil producer, right? Russia, who are just Russia, and the Chinese, who there we go. Pollution, right? They're nowhere to be now. And Joe Biden goes, they didn't show up. We made a lot of leadway here. Where? They weren't there. The people you need to talk to weren't there. Okay. Yeah. So, we're all fighting. You need to call people out when they're just hypocritical. Right. Liars. Be nice, be polite, ask them where their bike is. Okay. And I'll tell you something. If anybody ever mentions the poor to you and they're not helping the poor themselves, ridicule them. Ridicule them. If they mention the poor and they don't work at some sort of food bank, aren't out there putting soup in a bowl, they're not over there teaching some illiterate person how to read, right? Call them out every time they open their mouth, because they're hypocrites and they're liars and they're bullies. Yeah. And that's what we have to do.
And thinking of that, Aaron Rodgers took it in the shorts this week, I think.
Yes, he did.
And, sports people, God bless them, right?
He said, I said, look, there's a You think that's bad? There was a guy driving 156 miles an hour.
Yeah.
Ran into the back of somebody and killed them. They burned up. Them and their dog burned up. They could hear him screaming. Yeah. Much bigger story. Much bigger story.
Yeah.
Well, Aaron Rodgers, somebody could get sick and die. That lady burned up screaming.
Yep.
You think that's the first time that guy drove like that or showed that behavior? I mean, really, do you think that?
Exactly.
No. Start paying attention.
Right.
Pay attention, and maybe one day you'll see the real world. Because I ain't telling you to vote for Republicans or Democrats. We're way beyond that. I'm just asking you to think. And don't come into my wheelhouse talking stupid stuff.
Right.
That's the way we should feel. Well, Robert, it's always great. Next week we'll be back.
Yep, we will.
Anything else you want to say?
I was just going to say that Joe Rogan and evidently Aaron Rodgers were talking about that intervectin, whatever the heck that thing is.
Right.
And the liberal media cannot get off that evidently it's used as some kind of equine tranquilizer or something like that in another life.
Dewormer or something.
Deworm or something, right? Yeah. And I think it won some type of award, Pulitzer, or I don't know what the heck they give away for drugs for use for other things. But man, they can't get off. They can't stop. They can't stop themselves.
You know what it is I think that, and it's my humble opinion, there really isn't much story left. 109,000 people.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Somebody wrote, we had a lot of people die per capita here. And I'm like, of COVID. And I'm like, that sounds like you've given me information, right?
Mm-hmm. Right.
Like, no, Joe. Per capita, more people died in Mississippi than they did anywhere. Well, you do understand we have less people, so the manipulation of more capita is easy to do, right?
Right.
I'm not even going to go there. I'm going to go to this. And what were what was age groups? How did you break down the age group? Mm-hmm. Vaccinated, unvaccinated, preconditions. Like, let's say, does it count that you died of COVID if you had blood cancer and all these other things?
Right.
Does that count?
Right.
And that's what we got to get away from, this tomfoolery of that you can quote a number and you're like some sort of expert when all you did was check Google.
Yeah.
You didn't break it down. You didn't do nothing. You're horse shit. Okay.
Right.
And that's what I think is happening with the main media too, is when you have situations like this right here, when the story starts to stall, right?
Yeah.
109,000 people. And you can't call it a super spreader because somebody's going to fact check you on the right.
Right.
All of a sudden you're down to, he wasn't real honest. You're taking this horse medicine. Because you got no other story. I mean, I hate to do it. And I hate that people died, but you're not giving me any real information. Okay. Yeah. And by the way, for people that don't think I care about people dying, I do. And I wish that people would take care of their health, because I will tell you, being overweight and eating unhealthy kills a lot more people than COVID ever did.
Yeah.
But you don't see that on there, do you? No, you know what you see? McDonald's commercials. People are dying from being obese every day, but Wendy's can sell me their extra good fries every day. People don't care about people's health. They care about hyperbole.
Yeah.
I'm sorry. They don't, they just get caught in the hype. Because if you're worried about health, you wouldn't be, eating those fries. Not that I don't eat. Don't act like I don't. But I also want to tell you that I do, I work out a lot.
You work out a lot.
You already knew that. Just leave it at that.
Yep.
The reality of it is that, we have to be here, and I want people to be with us, and I want people to share our stuff and do it, because we got to learn how to be on the side of logic and side of good, and not get intimidated down just because somebody calls you a name. Once they call you a name, they've lost the argument and just poo-poo it. We're all something, right? Okay, buddy. If nothing else, we will see everybody very soon. Go ahead.
I was just going to say we're working on some guests that we hope to have here pretty soon. Joe's got a couple, I've got a couple, so you won't be seeing us. This is a format we're going to try to ramp up our own hyperbole. But
yeah, got guests coming every now and then. It's got to be us so we can ramble.
Yeah.
But look, my friend, we'll see everybody next week.
All right. See ya.